This video is going to talk about the mean value theorem. I'm including it in section 4 because I just feel like it fits better there, but actually our textbook really talks about this in section 3. So what does this mean? The average value, another way of saying mean value, is the value that would give the same area if the function was a constant. That sounds very technical, so I think looking at a picture could be very helpful here. Let's say we're looking at the integral of the function 1/2 x squared from 0 to 3. I think we all know by this point that means the area under the curve of this function from 0 to 3. So we could go through and we could calculate that, and we have methods of doing that. We could do this by hand. We would get 4.5 from that. What we want to do is kind of take that and figure out what would be a horizontal line that would have the same area under the curve. So we found the total area already, and what we want to do then is take that area and just divide by the width that we were looking at. So in this case, we want to divide by 3, and we get 1.5. So right there. So the way I like to think about this is, let's pretend it's the middle of winter and we had some water that we threw out. It's really, really cold. We have like super bad wind chills this day. We throw it out and it just freezes instantly in this curve. And we could do some geometry or something. We found that the area was 4.5 underneath this cross section. And then eventually we have a warm up and this whole big thing of ice, it just melts. What we're trying to do with this idea is figure out at what level would that ice melt to. So whenever you're asked to find that average value, a good rule of thumb is just to take the integral, find that area, and then divide by the width. And we actually will eventually get to a theorem by that. Take that area, divide by the width. This means the same thing. So if whatever I've said has not made sense right now, I would just pause this and see if you can understand why this really complicated notation really means find the area and divide by the width. B minus A would be the width if we have these limits here for our integral. Now another typical question is, where would this happen? At what value of x do you actually get that answer of 1.5? So we were looking for this point when they ask a question like this. So something like that, we want to take our function 1/2 x squared and figure out where does it equal 1.5. This actually goes back to, in some ways this could be an algebra 1 question. Just find the intersection of these two equations here. And if we did that, we could multiply both sides by 2, so we get 3 equals x squared. We take the square root of both sides, so square root of 3, which would make sense right about here. Does kind of look like about 1.7 whatever, so that seems to work there. So here is officially what the mean value theorem says. We also have a mean value theorem for derivatives, which might be a good thing for us to review in class tomorrow. But if we know that we have this continuous function, then there has to be an x value. We're just going to call it c right now, but there has to be an x value in between those limits where this is true, where the basically if that ice melted, we could figure out that y value. There has to be a c value or an x value in that range that gives us that same y value. So basically there has to be, if I go back here, there has to be an x value right here where this horizontal line matches up. So jot down any questions you might have from that, and we will then try a few practice questions with this idea.